Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Bleav.
BetOnline continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football, the NBA, college basketball, NHL, and UFC. Head to BetOnline today and don't forget to use the promo code BLEAV, B-L-E-A-V, for your welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, the game starts here.
This is the Bleav in the Warhawks podcast, part of the Bleav Network, with hosts Dusty Thibodeau.
I seem to be the only guy they can find to talk to.
And Chase Region.
Just offensive line, man. Still not getting credit for shit, and it's cool.
Chase, we are back again. Another Bleav in the Warhawks podcast. People love it.
Yeah.
I think it's you. I think it's the you get the inside scoop from a player's perspective and know what was going on in the locker room, what was going on in the practices.
Yeah, let's hope I don't say anything too stupid. That's what I try to do every week. So,
well, I mean, you would have never said anything bad about your coach or to the coach, so would you have?
I would have never, if you're talking about current coaches, never said a bad word about my coaches. No, great guys. And they're having great careers. Proud of them.
Well, we got the man here, and we get to find out from second-year head coach, which is weird kind of saying that already, but second-year head coach Bryant Vincent comes in. Coach, are you more excited now to see Chase than when you typically do get to see him?
Definitely more excited. Definitely more excited. No, it's great to be on here, man. I'm excited to be on here.
So, Coach, A.D. John Hartwell, first of all, is a magician. I want to rewind back to before the 24 season, because in my mind, I'm picturing there's this smoky hotel bar where you and him are getting together. There's like the red light glowing, and he's like, y'all are sliding sheets of paper back and forth over making a deal. How did that negotiation go to get you to even be at ULM to begin with?
Yeah, I can remember, things happening, pretty fast. I thought that, the process, and John, he's very efficient. He's very detailed. Once he has his mind made up, he's a thinker. He's got great vision. And I think we sat there the moment we'd known a lot of the same people throughout the circles. But we had never really met and spent any time together. So, obviously we meet down in Orange Beach, and we go to the hotel, and I go up to his room and we sit there and we just talk for hours, just about vision, standards, what we believe in, how do we do it? What's the process? We understood, and we talked about obviously it's not just a job, it's the situation. And I think as it went, that the conversation and just the process of it, because it's not a 5-minute or 10-minute conversation. This is it can become a journey. And we had already had some other, conversations, but nothing face to face where we'd met for the first time. And I walked out of there and just felt, it just felt natural, and it felt real, and it felt genuine. And I could tell that we both had, the same visions and same beliefs. And to be honest with you, it was probably 6 hours that night, because I was going to fly out the next morning out of Pensacola back to, Albuquerque. And he called me that night and said, "Hey man, I'm done." He goes, "I don't need to talk to anybody else." He said, "You're the guy I want. And will you ride and get in a car with me and go back and meet, Dr. Berry?" And I said, without a doubt, because I wanted the job. It wasn't necessarily negotiations. I wanted the job. And I always felt like this, was a job. I talked about this job 9 years ago, believe it or not. And I said, you know what? You can win at Louisiana Monroe. You can win at ULM. It's just got to take the right person to go in there and show them really who they can be. And, I was just excited. So called Holly that night. She wasn't with me. I was by myself, and called the boys and said, hey, get ready. We're going to Monroe, pack it up. And then I just started immediately working on my staff and already had most of it put together. So it was, it was the beginning. It was the beginning of what I think is a, a great marriage.
Yeah, I
Chase,
remember. Go ahead, Tips.
I was gonna say, I think I know the secret. It wasn't the opportunity like Coach Vincent talks about. He got scared because he had to ride in a car with John Hartwell for several hours.
That's a terrifying idea. Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
so everybody said, okay, so from Orange Beach to ULM, how is it? A lot of my relationships in that area of the state. And I said, when John's driving, it's about 4:45 to 5. When somebody normal's driving, it's going to take you about 6:15.
That does not surprise me. I remember when Coach, they were in that process, and I had heard, some names, and then obviously, I remember talking with John early on. He was like, "I've got a guy. Obviously, can't say anything, and it's going to be the dude." And then you hear how you approach the situation. I've talked about it on this podcast with Thibs, how you approach the situation holistically. Like, you came in understanding that you needed to fundraise. You needed to be a fundraiser. You need to be, an excellent recruiter. You need to kind of go down all those paths that make up being a head coach. And dude, once I heard that, I was so stoked. And then of course, the day I met you, I was like, man, this is the guy. I mean, would have loved to play for you myself, but I'm so excited that you're leading this team.
Well, I appreciate that. It means a lot. And I think that, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what business it is, head football coach, principal, whatever, CEO, it's all about people, and it's about relationships, but it's also about having a plan and understanding how to execute that plan. And the first year, I told the players, and they know this because we have, a lot of team meetings. There's a lot of communication. There's a lot of understanding. There's a lot of whys. This is why, guys. This is why.
Mm.
And being the 8th program that I've been a part of, whether I was an offensive coordinator or head coach, whatever, you understand. And at the end of the day, it's the same thing. It's about relationships. It's about people. It's about building a common vision and a common path, because it's a one-way street. There's not three different ways to get there. There's only one way, and it's together. And you got to be willing to go through tough times. You got to be surrounded by the right people that are willing to go through tough times. And, we've kind of surrounded ourselves with those people, and we've taken big steps. We've still got big steps to take, but from year 1 to year 2 to going into year 2, we're in a really good spot right now. We've got a long way to go, but I love the progress and the direction.
Year 1 of being the true head coach. I know you were head coach in the high school ranks. You had the interim year at UAB. Did you really consider this past year your first real head coach year in college football?
Without a doubt, because, at UAB, being the offensive coordinator and assistant head coach, and Bill Clark is a very close friend of mine, and we met every morning at 6 a.m. in his office. I'm talking about 360 out of 365 days, it seems like. And I love him, and we did it throughout the day. So, but it's a big difference between being named the interim head coach in June or the end of June, and taking a program over in December and building your own staff total from top to bottom, from building your own roster from top to bottom, from your strength staff to your equipment staff to everything, to your training staff, to your off the field director, player personnel, to your recruiting people. So it was definitely, it's the first real one where you started from the bottom up.
Did you have that moment where you were like, going into this job, that you knew it all, but then over the course of year number 1, you're like, damn, I didn't think of that?
I think that Not really, because I called it in UAB in 22. I called it. I think the biggest, you know, adjustment that I have had to make was really just my time, because of the demand in this job and what you have to do in this situation. They all have similarities, but this situation is different because of, really resources. And we had to we've got to update the facilities that we've made. We've probably finished 50% of what needs to be done in that building, in our football facility. So we're halfway home. The recruiting has just picked up tremendously, but it's really my time and having to, going out and get that next 50% done in phase two. You go to year one, and these are some of the things people don't know. We established a nutrition program. There was not a nutrition program. So you are feeding 120 guys a day, twice a day, year round. And this is a Division One. This ain't, Pop Tarts and peanuts. And you got to start from the ground up. So we started the nutrition program. We had training room equipment. We got a nice training room, but what were we going to do when we got in there? And so we were able to add $40,000 worth of training equipment, of rehab equipment, of just things that you have to have at this level. And then we were able to go out and really establish a speed program. We didn't have speed equipment. We didn't have the things that it takes to run a Division One speed and change of direction program. So that's another $45,000. And then you got to get your facilities built. I think we spent right at $500,000 on redoing a brand new team room, a new locker room, and a new lobby. That is the window of our athletic department. It's the first thing you walk into. It's where our people walk into to go up to the press box. So all those things were done year one, on top of bringing in 73 new players, basically revamping almost 75% of the roster. So establish relationships in town, getting people back in, getting the alumni back in, establishing the team meeting, starting an NIL, 2 new programs to really, it's just things that had to be done. We had to catch up 10 years in one, and I feel like we did.
Yeah, I think everybody feels like you did. And that team room, for those listening, if you haven't seen it, go look on any social media of ULM football. It looks crazy good, Coach. We had a conversation in the L Club about how it was abysmal. And I had thought to myself when he left, to be honest, I was like, oh, it's not that bad. And then I went in there the next day and I was like, yeah, this is pretty terrible. We gotta get that right. And you had mentioned there that other people recruiting are saying just walk down that hallway. And now when you walk down that hallway, it's a lot different. I mean, we've got a beautiful team room or training room back there, beautiful team room. The players lounge was done, I think 2 years ago, and it looks great. I mean, it just kind of feels like definitely we took that next step in facilities, which I know is not always the ask of a head coach, but I'm damn grateful you took that charge, man, because it looks, I mean, it's just you need an upgrade of that beautiful stadium that we see in Thibs background there that nobody else will mind. But yeah, it was definitely 10 years ahead in a year. I agree.
And just I'm excited about, okay, because if you'll fight your way through that first 15, 20, 30% to get to that 50, when you get to that point, it becomes fun, because it's the final pieces of the puzzle start hitting. So we've got to have a great phase two to be able to go out and get that done. And we need to get that done ASAP. That's something that I probably spent 4 hours day to day on, and we've got a great plan, and we've got people that are wanting to get involved. We got people that, it's growing. Our Army's growing. Our support is continuing, and we have to continue to grow it. We're probably 30% of where we need to be. I feel like, from our community, from our town, from our former players, each day it seems like 1 or 2 more come and say, Coach, I want to get involved. Coach, I want to tell me how I can help. And it's exciting. I'm being honest with you. It's exciting. The first year is the hardest.
Yeah.
as a coach. It puts 10 years on your life, but you got to be willing to go out there and do it and grind it from your 4:45 to however long it takes. But you got to be built different, and you got to embrace those things, because I want to give it to this town, man. I want to give it to our former players, and I want to show it that it can be done. And man, once it comes back, it's hard to take away. It really is. Once you get it running, it's hard to take away.
Well, Coach, you don't have too many gray hairs, if that helps. I don't, you know.
You know what?
Yeah.
I tell you, I want to tell you a good story. So this is a great story. You said that. We were coming out of the field house about 2 weeks ago, and we've had great numbers during the break of guys that wanted to stay and work out, and Novik's out there with 22 guys, voluntary workouts, and Wyatt Williams and Billy Pullen and Bart. They're all out there just grinding it. When your best players are that committed, going into phase 2, you've got a chance now. And we were walking out, and some of the players, we were just joking around, messing with them, and they go, "Coach, man, you sure have developed a lot more gray hairs in the last couple of months." And I said, "Well, I wonder why that is there, Billy Pullen, why that?" So, yeah, but that's okay, man. I have a lot of passion for it and a lot of drive for it. But they're definitely coming.
Coach, what is your kind of daily regimen? Like, I know John, every time I've talked to John, he's talked about, I got to get the man to sleep. I got to get him to sleep. What is a day in the life of Coach Vincent really like?
Man, it's a 4:45. Your feet hit the floor in the morning. I'm a morning guy. I have been my whole career. I Bleav you've got to get, when the day actually starts, and our feet are on the turf at 7 a.m. You've got to have it. It's got to be ready to roll. And so I'm a 4:45 guy. I'm a shower, out the door, Christian music on the way in. I'm a big Hillsong worship, because I Bleav in mentality, and I Bleav in, you set your own mindset each day, and you set your mentality. And as a leader, how do you want to lead? And it's not every 3 days or every 5 days. It's every day. It's every day. And I just try to set my mind right, with the right music going in, some good worship music, and boom, I'm in. I'm a stop at the gas station. If Holly doesn't have me a case of Celsius in there, I'm a Celsius in the morning guy.
You a daily press guy, Coach?
What's that?
You a daily press guy or what?
No, I'm just a Celsius in the morning. I go right to the Circle K on the way out. It's right down the road. I'm a routine guy. Same drive every morning, and get in. Usually get a water right behind it. I got a to-do list every single morning. I'm going to run through my to-do list, what I got done yesterday, what I didn't get done, and then I'm going to rewrite clean it up, add it more, and because it gets added daily. And then I'm going to try to knock that list out in between being with our players. We're on the field at 7 a.m. this year. Defense, they're on the field. They come in, we weigh in, they get fuel, which is nutrition. Then we do 45 minutes of speed or change of direction where we alternate. Then we're in the weight room for an hour and 15 minutes. And then they're going to get treatment, and then they're going to get lunch, and then they are headed to class. And then after that is where you start, your phase 2, really, where we meet as a staff. We meet as a staff every morning at 6:30. We meet as a staff then at 1 o'clock. And we talk about the day, the good, the bad, the things that we have to fix, the things that we didn't like, the things we did like. We talk about the roster. We got really we've got 2 players that arrive this May. So we talk recruiting. We talk really the spring, where we're at offensively, defensively, our studies, our self-studies, our self-efficiencies, and what was good, wasn't good, and where we feel like these guys that we just brought in fit the pieces of the puzzle, exactly. We finish it off with, I'm out building our program for phase 2, setting up meetings, meeting people in town, doing the things that we got to do to get people more involved to get through phase 2. And really we finish the day usually around 6 o'clock at this time of year with a staff meeting, just to finish the day and make sure we understand exactly what we're doing in the morning because, it changes. It's not, we don't go out and do the same speed and change of direction drills. And that's a daily routine that I'm recruiting at night. Come in, see the families, make phone calls, return phone calls, and go do it again.
Are you a morning practice guy when you get into spring ball? Or are you an afternoon guy?
A morning guy, and it kind of depends on the situation. I like morning. Here's why. The first thing we it's nutrition. It's how we're fed. It's how we eat. It's what we eat. So the first thing I like to make sure we've got the kids up, that they've had good nutrition. They've weighed in and weighed out. So I'm a morning guy. Then we get all of our work done, and then we make sure they eat lunch, and a good lunch, and they're off to class. We had a 293 GPA last semester. That was the highest I was told in the history of the fall ever.
A lot higher than
So
mine.
it's a big deal. That's, you got to win off the field. We've got to win off the field because everything we do off the field bleeds to the field.
I feel better that I know that my grind is just a little bit better than Coach Vincent. So, because I'm up at 4:15 and grinding until at least 10, 11 o'clock at night, Coach.
Well, let me tell you something. It's a grind. It's what it is.
Yeah.
It's
You
what
can
it
challenge
is.
the man. You can challenge the man to wake up 4:15. Tips.
He's going to start calling me now at 4:30. Hey, I'm up.
Hey, I'm up. Yeah. What are you
know
doing?
What's crazy? Because I get so much work done in between those hours when you actually have time to think and you have time to really, I'm a guy that I like to think it and have it and see it and see it months out. You got to be way out there on the things that you're trying to accomplish. And I feel like right now we're pretty good all the way up to fall camp, of what our plan is.
So as we dive into looking forward to the 25 season, there's a couple questions. Obviously, the big one being at the running back position. Before we talk about who can possibly fill those shoes of Ahmad Hardy, I don't want to see the tears again there, Coach. But what was it like when he came to your office? He sat down. He's like, Coach, I got to go.
Well, this was something him and I talked about. We started talking about once a week in my office, probably week 5 on. So this was a weekly conversation. It was usually on Thursdays because Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday is so fast and every second is planned and every moment, and you're finishing the game plan usually gets finished completely, by Tuesday around 11:30 at night, 11:30, 12 o'clock in season. So Wednesday, you're just polishing it up and probably taking things out. That's a Wednesday night deal. And then we would meet Thursday because it's all in, it's done. The hay's in, we're ready to rock and roll. But it was one of those deals where we talked about it weekly. I knew his situation. I knew him. I knew what his beliefs were. I knew what his love was. He didn't want to leave, man. But it got to the point where he needed to leave. It was what's best for him. And when it got to that point, then our conversations got to those last couple weeks of finish. All right, okay, this will happen when the last second ticks. How do you want to leave your legacy? How do you want to be remembered in practice every day, in the games, for these fans, for our university, for our former players, for everybody? And he finished, man. I'm talking about every single day, every moment. He was just a great teammate. He was a great ambassador for them. This is a true freshman, man. This is an 18-year-old kid. And then we started having the conversations after the season was over. Look, go see them all. Knock it down to your 4 or 5 top ones. It's not, at this point, it's all irrelevant. It's all really high up there. So, man, go. It's about people. It ain't about the places. It's about the people. And I said, you'll know the right situation. And I think he made a great pick at Missouri because Eli Drinkwitz is one of the guys that I've sat in and talked ball about outside zone. He's one of the guys that we first started with it when he was the head coach at App State, and Sean Clark was the O-line coach. And I think when Ahmad got out there and they showed him exactly what they do and how he was like, this is what we've been doing it. This is what we did at ULM, outside zone from the pistol.
And it didn't hurt that he had two Sun Belt running backs that had already been there. So, Nate Noel and I draw a blank on the other one every time. But to able to show him, hey, yeah, you played in the Sun Belt. Everybody thinks down upon it, but you can make it here. We made it here. We still got the carries. But did
Right.
you kind of advise him? Did he contact you when he was going on those trips to the different schools and say, Coach, what do you think about this? Or hey, they told me that. Does that sound right? Did you kind of play a little bit of an advisor role to him?
I think we played a big advisor role to him, especially before he took his first trip. What I didn't want to do, I didn't want to get in his way. So when he did ask, I answered, but I didn't want to get in his way. I wanted him to go out and make their own decision. We sat down and we talked about the things he needed to look at, the things that should be important. Take the financials out, take that out, because they were all at a high level. Now, make it about who you feel is the best fit and the best people for you. And I think he made a really good decision.
Yeah.
I saw Eli. I saw Coach Drink. I saw Drink at the coaches convention and the head coaches meeting. We sat around and talked about Ahmad for about 15 minutes and coming out of it. And he was excited. And I told him, I said, man, you got a great one. And he goes, I think so too. I really do. And I said, no, you don't think you do. I said, so just, you can take any lingering, but he knew, but until you see it, until you coach it, until he's in their weight room and he's on their practice field and stuff, you really don't know, but he will soon.
Well, you got the tall task now. He gave you a lot of production, was a great player, 100% every interaction I had with him. He was a great person, human being. And I think that's, I think he turned heads around the nation between the both of you this year, for the better for ULM. But can you talk a little bit about your recruits this year? I mean, you signed quite a few new guys. How is that process, inserting them into the culture that you built and kind of like getting them up to speed on playbook and stuff like that? Give us an insight of what that looks like.
I think the biggest thing, again, it goes back to relationships. And, the recruiting process starts this time really for us from last year, so a lot of the guys, we just brought in 22 guys. And I couldn't be, I'm very excited about this class. Not only is this class, possess a lot of length and a lot of size and a lot of speed, but we've got a great group of kids. And to me, I say it to our staff all the time, it's got to be the right kind of kid. So what do I mean by the right kind of kid? A kid that loves football, a kid that wants to own this mission. Like our whole staff, we're very upfront. We're very honest, real, and genuine. We say, this is who we are. This is who we've been. And we talk about the history of the program and the success and the town and the people in this town. And this is what it is. And this is the mission. And we don't want you to come here unless you want to own this mission. You want to play for this town. You want to play for this university, for the former players and the student. You want to do it the right way in the classroom, in the locker room, off campus, on campus. And do you want to be, the first team that wins a bowl game, the first team that wins an outright conference championship? I mean, like that's what this is. And this is who we're going to be every day. And this is what we work for every day. And being positive, being a good teammate, still playing for the man beside you. Those are I'm old school. And those are the things I believe in: being tough, being disciplined, embracing hard. And every one of these guys, I said, look, don't come here unless that's what you want. But we let them know who we were last January. And when you do it January and you build that relationship throughout time, and then they see it. And then they see it, and seeing is believing. And kids are smart, man. They can see what's real and what's genuine and what's not. And I'm excited about this group. We got a lot of the right kind of kids, man. And kids that are really, got some really talented guys that are going to come in here and fit some great pieces of the puzzle.
the players are there, Coach, and we know that you've added a lot more to your staff this year. And maybe not a lot of people know this, but you're getting your second former Warhawk on the staff there with Cody Wells coming back. What does that mean to have now two former ULM players that can really add to that culture and kind of showcase maybe the darker side of where we had been to really propel it to be in the bright future?
I think the first thing, there's several things that come into, building your staff to making it fit, especially when your head coach has been the offensive coordinator and called plays, and passion and really true love. I mean, think about that: passion and love and really care are still very powerful. I know people want to talk about this or that or height or speed, but those things still matter, especially when you're lifting a place up, because you'll be willing to get up and do it every single day. And Cody Wells loves ULM. I coached Cody in high school, at Spain Park High School. I remember sitting in his living room, with his mom and dad and talking him into playing football because he was such a good golfer. And Cody's he had those intangibles back then. He had the leadership qualities, he had the toughness, he was a competitor. He lived for the moment. And I stayed in touch with him his whole career. He's one of my guys. Whether he played here, G8 here, he got his first full-time gig here, coaching quarterbacks, to going to Jacksonville State with John Gross, to winning 6 conference championships, coaching quarterbacks 3 years and coaching receivers 3 years. And then, he goes and ends up he's the offense coordinator of Angel in Arkansas, and they scored a lot of points. And I almost was able to work it out to get him here last year, but I just wasn't at the moment. And I was able to get him this time, and I think he's a major addition that bleeds, the maroon. He bleeds the colors. He loves this place, and those people are powerful. It means something to him. He met his wife here, Allie.
Yeah, he's a Warhawk. I remember my getting recruited senior year, and he played quarterback. And Coach, we've talked about this, but he was the number 2 quarterback behind the stud of Colton Browning, the Colton Browning legacy he left here. And Cody was the brains behind so much. He was a smart, as a senior, I watched him just be a genius, or what I thought at the time was a genius. And I know he's a smart, guy and football minded. And then I watched him as a GA coach and just be a leader of men. I'm so excited he'll be back in Maroon. And I just want to say on record that you've got 2 former ULM players, right, Coach? Yeah. And you talk about how Cody's great at golf, and I Bleav he still is. He was a great athlete. And your other, Coach Osborne, Alec Osborne, awful golf player. Do not think that he can play golf at all. He's a terrible golf player. I've golfed with him before. He's terrible at it. Great athlete in his own way, but definitely 2 different people, but both great dudes.
Chase,
Yeah,
I feel like this is more offensive line smack talk, that you're talking trash about a quarterback, about a tight end.
Hey, I told Coach Vincent when he hired, I don't know if you remember this, Coach, but you had hired him, and we had maybe met one time before, and it was one of our first few times talking. And I said, hey, you just hired a former teammate of mine, Alec Osborne. And you said, yeah. And I said, and he's going to coach linebackers for you. And you were like, yeah. And I said, well, that's weird, because here he was a tight end. He was a very good tight end. And there's 2 things about Alec that I don't know if he'll like me saying public, but he should never, ever teach anybody how to block, okay? He was a great tight end, not a good blocker. And he had the most unfortunate injury I've ever seen. He had a dang good season ahead of him, and he goes up to do a jumping celebration, comes down and tears his ACL, and took a medical red shirt, but then got back after that and still had a great career here at ULM. But I will say that was the 2 things I told you that day: is don't ever let him jump to celebrate, and don't ever let him teach anybody how to block, because I promise you he doesn't know how to do it.
I tell you what, Alex, he's done a great job, man. I've been proud of him. He's a relentless recruiter. He loves ULM. He met his wife here. This, the town place. It means something to him.
Fantastic volleyball player, his wife.
Yes, and just. He's the same guy every day. If there's anybody that beats me to the office, he is the only one that beats me to the office from time to time. And he's a grinder. That's what I love about him. He's a grinder, and he's a recruiter, and he cares, and he's a great coach. The players love him. So I've been really proud of him. I'm glad we've got him.
One spot that I know everybody's been hitting me up about, offensive coordinator. It will not be Bryant Vincent next year. I think you fired him as offensive coordinator. So who are you bringing in to replace that guy?
You know what? It's been an interesting turn of events. You know, as we've worked through this whole deal, I think as we got through it and we started in this process, and the first thing, you know, I didn't know I wanted to swing, and I knew our relationship would give us a chance, and it did. When I was able to get Henley Brigham, you know, as our running back coach, who was my running back coach for all those years at UAB. And we turned that program around really to a top 5 group of 5 program, from the 3 West championships in a row to the 2 conference championships to beating BYU in a Shreveport in 22. You know, Henley was my running back. We were in a lot of wars together, won a lot of wars together, championships. That place has never been done. So, you know, when I was able to get Henley to come, you know, be our running back coach and our run game coordinator, that was a big hit. You know, that was a big win for us, for him to leave UAB, you know, really after 10 years. And so that right there kind of changed the momentum of things. And then in the next couple of days, you'll see another hire, I think, that's going to, again, change some things. Getting Cody Wells to come in, who's been an offensive coordinator, who's been a quarterback coach, and in 3 years, really 4 years, and at the level, receiver coach 3 years, and to win championships and to know him and what he stands for means that kind of changed some things, because now I've got a guy that I can maneuver around in Cody, who's coached receivers, coached quarterbacks, called plays, designed game plans, a guy I trust and a guy I know. And then I was able to go out and get Keyshawn McClain, who, you know, I took my time and I vetted people, and I put Keyshawn through the ringer. You know, I did. I put him through the ringer. I put a lot of guys through the ringer, and Keyshawn, every time, man, he stands for what we stand for, what we believe in. I mean, our receivers are going to be tough. They're going to be intense. They're going to be passionate. They're going to block and run great routes and make plays and do things. It's just so Brigham and Cody kind of changed the course of things, and then to get Keyshawn in, who's been a passing game coordinator, who has been under and worked with some guys I really trust, like Brian Ellis, who's now the tight end coach at Alabama. He was the OC at Georgia Southern. Richard Owens, who was my offensive line coach for 6 years, you know, before Coach Cam was under. And they worked together and really trusted, to Joe Selfo. They were together at Gardner Webb. So these were guys that, you know, I'd been through wars with, coached with, and they know who I am and what we stand for, what I stand for as the head coach. And by the, you know, 10th hour that I'd put him through at multiple occasions, I said, I want this guy to coach my receivers, man. And I want him to bring his mentality in with us and join forces. And still got one more guy on offense that you know, we should be able to announce in the next day or two. But as all these pieces have fallen together, I'm going to call it next year. And I've got the right, you know, certain pieces that really have going to be able to get this done and do it at a high level. And that's the only way that we can do it. So, you know, right now, this spring, you know, it's going to be you know, also I want to see it. You know, I know it's there, but I want to see it. And I'm going to challenge these coaches like they haven't been challenged in a while, you know, offensively. And defensively, you know, I think we're going to have some additions over there on that side in the next, you know, in the future, in the near future. Just some great additions that we've improved everything. You know, Isaac Lopez, you know, I lost my number 2 in the weight room, Clay Templeton, on some family things. He needed to get back closer to home. And I love Clay. He played for me, but I totally understand. And I was able to get Isaac Lopez, who's was with us at New Mexico, man, and he's special, man. He's one of the top dudes I've been around. He's one of the best motivators. He's passionate. He's unbelievable. He was like an undefeated MMA fighter and gave it up. He's from Albuquerque, Louisiana. I mean, Albuquerque, New Mexico. And we moved into Monroe, Louisiana. And this guy's, he's special. He was my first call. He left us at New Mexico and went to Notre Dame. And I knew when we left him, it was a big dent in our team, and we did not replace him. And those are the guys I want, guys that really motivate and affect our kids, in a positive direction.
Do you think that you want to do you're basically saying you're going to take the spring and kind of evaluate. And I just want to say, as somebody that was on sidelines last year, it was the first time I've seen a head coach challenge everybody at the same time. And I think that was an important factor of you being a leader of men between players and coaches, which was, I think if you talk to anybody within your building, they say how much everybody looks up to you. But you kind of say you want to take spring. Do you think you're going to go, and you've added obviously a lot of coaching talent. Are you going to go passing game coordinator, run game coordinator? Is that something you're interested in doing? Do you I guess I'm asking your philosophy on coordinators in that sense, offense coordinators.
Well, I think that as you're devising a great game plan, and the thing about it is Coach Blankenship, my offensive line coach, he was there the whole time with Brigham. So there's a great understanding of how we've built all those plans. We built them together through all those years at UAB. So there's a lot of familiarity, the terminology, the details. We all think a lot more, where Brig and Cam, if we built those plans together and won championships. And I think that's going to be a major boost. That's going to, it's going to be speed the process up. I think that Coach Brigham's everything that he's done, at that position, and the guys that he has, recruited and developed in this system, and the knowledge of being in all those game plan meetings through all those years is going to just provide a huge spark and a huge, really, it's going to take some of the total load off, so to speak. And it's going to be, I think that's a big part in the run game. That's going to take some pressure off. Cody, who's been a coordinator, who's coached multiple positions, and then Keyshawn, who I think is a bright and upcoming guy that's had a lot of, work in the passing game coordinator. And we put us all together. It not only am I growing players and building a program and growing the nutrition and our strength, just the entire program, but my job is also to grow the coaches and to grow the staff. And the only way to do that sometimes is to put them in the fire. So this spring is going to be fun. It needs to be as challenging for the coaches as it is for the players.
That is the most diabolical way I've ever heard somebody say it's going to be fun. The most
It is going to be fun.
That's like that Army recruiter that tries to get you to sign up. It's like,
Yeah.
Basic's fun, man. It
Be great.
you get to jump out of planes. You get not my idea of fun.
Toes on the ground, and it was 19 degrees outside this morning, and it was beautiful. And we're grinding. I'm having fun, loving it.
That's awesome.
So, Coach, every program is, maybe not so now, but roster spots are really at a premium. And with the house settlement, you're not going to see kind of the Rudies of the world really coming in as a walk-on and really making a big name. But I know that you have a walk-on that is near and dear to your heart. How do you kind of balance that coach versus dad when you're out there with Brett on the field?
He gets it worse than any player on the team. So I'm one of those guys, man, that nobody gave me anything, growing up. There was nothing. It was all earned. Nothing was given. And I mean that. And I want my kids to go through hard times. I want them to go through adversity. I want them to be built. I don't want to shelter them. I don't want to give them anything. So anything that Brett gets, he's going to have more than deserved because he gets it worse than anybody on the team just because that's what he needs. That's what he needs. But the players will tell you, God Almighty, Brett. Sorry, Brett. It's okay. No, it ain't okay. He needs it. So I just want I think tough times and tough times don't last, man, but tough people do. And I'm not always going to be here. It's the same thing for all of our kids. I'm not going to be around. And my high school coach was my biggest mentor. And he made an impression and an indention on my life that I live by today. And I want to be that for all our kids. And I'm dang sure going to be it for my own. And he gets no favors. I promise you. It's no different than Brady, the tight end coach. He was under me for 4 years as a student assistant, 2 years as a GA, I think 3 years as an analyst. I mean, I beat that kid into where he
Talk about a
needs
ringer.
not physically, but I beat him in
We got you.
tough to be tough on him and where he can handle it, man. This thing's you face, you're going to go through 80% tough times to enjoy 20% of good times. So you got to live in the tough and like the tough. And when tough is the norm and tough is good, as we say around the office a lot, we go good. And then you can handle life, man. And you can be a good dad and you can be a good, you can be a good husband and you can be a good person and treat people the right way.
Who was the better receiver, though, you or Brett?
Brett
Oh,
Brett was a way better route runner. Look, we threw 3 routes we threw the slant, the hitch, and a go ball. It was back in the early 90s, and we'd run a naked bootleg or throw a hitch out there because the corner was 10 yards off because, we weren't playing great high school football in Kentucky compared to Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi. I promise you.
But
no.
Coach, the more important question, and we did a lot of valued research there on Funbelt Podcast. You will not be the shortest coach in the Sun Belt this upcoming year, by the way.
Hey, if I'm not the shortest, then I'd hate to know who the next one is.
It's I can never remember his name because I haven't really gone through and rewritten the brain, but the new head coach at App State, 5'5".
Really?
Yeah.
Well, hey, there's dynamite. Hey, the dynamite comes in small packages, boys. I can tell you one thing.
I already talked too much.
And I don't mean this any disrespect, but I met Coach Kelly at the head coach's meeting, and I got about 2 inches on him, buddy.
Love that, Coach. Love that. I told the story when I met you on this podcast. He scared me.
He's a class act, man. He was good, but I'm 5'9", man, and walking around the facility and being around John makes me feel really bad because he's like 6'6" or 6'7". So I'm like, we've got the biggest AD in the Sun Belt and the shortest head coach. So
yeah, I don't want to bring that up earlier, but that was what was running through my head was that Dusty called the hotel bar thing perfectly, and then B, I couldn't imagine. I'm 6'3". When I met the guy, I was like, this freaks me out when people are that tall, and he's a
he's
big
tall.
dude.
He is. He's a big man. He's a tall man. He's a college basketball player. So now you see, he just has to put his arm up and dump it in the basket.
Yeah.
Coach, you talked about getting to meet all these guys at the AFCA, but more importantly, you got to go to the big show, the national championship game there in Atlanta. Did you actually get to enjoy it as a fan, or were you kind of what if coaching going, nah, I would have called this, or look, that guy's not running the right route?
It was really just an opportunity. I've never been to one, been to a championship game, and I just soaked it in, really as a coach and as a fan. I like to watch them warm up. I think you can tell a lot about a team in that 20-minute warm up. I thought that, how their players act, who's the last one in the line, who's the first, do the whole team get in there? Is there 1 or 2 guys lagging? I look for all the little things. And it was just really impressive seeing both programs operate in pregame warmups to the size and the speed You see it on TV is one thing. When you see it live and in color, it was very impressive. Both teams were big, fast, and physical at the key positions. Really, at every position, but mainly that O line and D line for both of those teams was very impressive. And then just to sit back and watch the guys handle adversity, to watch them handle, if there was a turnover or the missed field goal, just to see those guys. But I knew what was going to happen. They would fight to the end, because you never get to that point unless you just play a certain way every single snap. And that's what we preach to our kids. And, it's something I was proud of last year. I was proud of our kids never got negative. They never pointed fingers. We never had a bad practice. We came out and we fought our tails off from the very beginning to the end, to the last second of the last game. And year one, that's a win. That's a win. And I'm excited about this team's, toughness. And I can tell you this will be the toughest football team. This will be the most disciplined football team, that I've been a part of. That's going to happen.
I don't think the over-unders come out for the season yet. Where do you see that mark being?
I don't really know. I know we've got St. Francis. I'll be able to tell you as this team, how fast we grow, how we continue to just embrace. So much of it is everybody wants to look what they want to do. What are we doing each day? Everybody, okay, we want to do this, and we want to win a bowl game. We want to win a conference championship. What are we doing today about it? It's all about what are we doing today. And I like this team's approach, man. I do. I think they own work, and they own the process, and the leadership and mentality. The potential here is really strong with this group. That's a big deal. It's a big deal to keep the Wydett Williams. It's a big deal to keep Devontae Wells and Billy Pullen and Godsey and Carl Fontroy and Elijah Fisher, man, and Jay Mickle got another year. Boom. So we were able to keep Jay, man, who's just a ambassador of what we stand for, to, Q McBroom, to Aiden Armenta. This people don't understand. This wasn't easy. Julian Nixon, so all of our specialists, because there wasn't much of a break, because we were fighting our tails off, to protect our team.
Did you tell McKenzie to crank up the Australian accent, and that way maybe people wouldn't understand him if he said yes or no?
That kid, man, he's by the time this kid leaves Monroe, he's going to be a celebrity. That kid is hilarious. He's funny. He's a worker. He just played college football for the first time ever and thought it was really fun. Coach, that was a lot of fun, man. It was pretty cool. Me and my mates liked it. So, and he's embraced. He loves Monroe, man. He loves the people here. The team loves him. He's a great kid, and he's going to be a guy that this town's going to really embrace as they continue to get to know him.
Coach, I don't know if this is where you want me to end at Thibs, but I want to say I'm glad you're here. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us tonight. You gave us quite a bit of time. We'd love to have you back anytime you're able to. I'd love to have you back in the middle of the season. I know you're going to tell me no, but that's okay, because I'll still I don't know if I'm going to in the middle of the season, but I bet you'll tell me no.
I tell you what we could do. We could do it right there, right before spring practice, leading into spring, kind of where we're at, because these next 6 weeks, these next 6-7 weeks is where, the cores, they're going to get burned these next 6-7 weeks, and how they embrace the burn and this tough, hard times is, I think this team's got a willingness to like it. I really do.
Well, I hope I'm either. It hasn't been decided on radio whether I'll be on the sidelines back with you again or whether I'll be in the booth, but I will definitely see you next year. Again, thanks for your time. I'd love to have you back. I want to end on telling you one thing, and I told you this the week we were in our radio personnel meetings before pregame of the last week of the season. And I want to tell you this again, and I hope that if you learn anything from me in your entire time here in Monroe, it's that we hate the University of Louisiana Lafayette, and I need you to keep that in your heart, and I need you to scream it to your team. And I tried everything within me not to scream it to your team the whole time I was on the sidelines down there, but please remember that for the rest of your time here.
Absolutely. I will. And I think that as you look at the overall situation, I think you look at 73 guys that really didn't understand it.
Yep.
And I think they understand it. And it's hard. That's kind of why, in the histories and the traditions, you bring the freshmen in and they see it. And then they either redshirt or they grow into it, and then they grow into it. And by the time they're a senior, it is so personal and there's such a vendetta. I think our guys kind of felt that and went through it this year. Now they understand it, and we're looking forward to that game next year.
I know Big Fish was pumped up for that game. I know he'll be again this year. But thanks again, Coach. Thanks for your time tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Chase, hey, Dusty, thank you, guys. Thank you for all you do for loving ULM and helping us build this program, man, and let's build it together.
This is a mini meditation guided by Bombas. Repeat after me. I'm comfy. I'm cozy. I have 0 blisters on my toes. And that's because I wear Bombas, the softest socks, underwear, and T-shirts that give back. One purchased equals one donated. Now go to bombas.com/listen and use code LISTEN for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com/listen and use code LISTEN at checkout.